You exhausted, ready to quit? 1 Corinthians 9 says, run in such a way that you may win the prize. This journey of faith is not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's a long endurance, it's a testing, it's a crossing that requires perseverance, focus, and strength that goes beyond our own ability. Long distance runners talk about hitting that wall, that moment when exhaustion takes over, your legs feel like lead, your lungs burn, your body screams at you to just quit. Right? When you hit the wall, you're tempted to slow down or just step out of the race. You start wondering, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Psalm 119 is like a spiritual marathon. It's a commitment to walking in God's ways, trusting his word, and staying the course no matter what. And when we get to just stanza 4, verses 25 to 32, we find the psalmist already hitting that first spiritual wall. It's a place of deep discouragement and exhaustion. He begins with a desperate cry that says, my soul clings to the dust. Revive me according to your word. He's face down. He's exhausted, spent. His soul, his very life feels welded to the dust. Maybe you've been there where life has drained you. You started strong, full of zeal, and now the obstacles feel overwhelming. Psalmist doesn't quit. Instead, he calls out to God, revive me. He doesn't look for escape or a distraction. He just turns to the only one who can breathe life back into him. And then he confesses something important. He says, I recounted my ways. I told you about my ways, my plans, and you answered me. Lord, teach me your statutes. He'd been walking in his own ways, making decisions based on his own understanding. But when he turned to the Lord, he found that the Lord didn't just listen, God answered. And that answer are God's boundaries, his guardrails, his statutes. And this is key, right? The way forward is not found in our wisdom. It's in his instruction. When we feel lost, when we feel like quitting, we don't need more of our own plans. We need more of his direction. He continues, he says, Lord, help me discern the way of your precepts so I may meditate on your wonders. He's in pursuit of genuine discernment, genuine understanding. Lord, help me grasp the heart behind your commands, to see the beauty in your ways. And what does he intend to do with that understanding? He says, I'm going to focus, meditate on your wonders. Instead of focusing on the struggles, he shifts his gaze to the extraordinary things the Lord has done. That doesn't mean the battle's over. He's still in the middle of the race. Verse 28, he says, my soul drips with exhaustion from grief, from sorrow and affliction. Lord, cause me to stand by your word. It's like when a runner's muscles start cramping, when the pain becomes unbearable. They need something to keep them from collapsing. Lord, let your word be what holds me up. Strengthen me. Hold me up by your word. And then comes this shift, that second wind. He says, I cling to your testimonies. Don't let me be put to shame. Right at the start of this passage, he was clinging to the dust. Now he's clinging to God's word. He's chosen to hold on to God's truth, God's promises, God's faithfulness. And then with fresh determination, he declares, he says, I am determined to run the course of your commands, for you have set my heart free. Right? He started this stanza face down in the dust, but now he's running. Second wind. He's not just surviving, he's sprinting forward because God has set his heart free. Where are you in this race? Maybe you feel like you've hit a wall. You feel exhausted and discouraged and unsure if you can keep going. Don't quit. Cling to his word. Cry out to him for his strength and let him revive you as only he can. And then run with perseverance because God's word's not a burden. It's the path to true freedom. You were made to finish this race. Keep running and run to win.